You came in for milk. You left with $147 worth of groceries, 3 things you don't even remember picking up, and a receipt so long it barely fits in your pocket. Here's the part that should actually bother you. The strange thing isn't that this happened. The strange thing is that someone predicted it would happen before you even parked your car. This isn't a coincidence, and it isn't a personal failure either. It's the result of a science most people have never heard of, built by researchers who study the human brain for a living, funded by some of the biggest companies on Earth, and quietly perfected over the last 50 years for one single purpose: to make you spend more money without ever feeling like you were tricked into it. Today, we're going to walk through that experience together, one step at a time, and by the end, you'll understand something that changes the way you shop for the rest of your life. Because right now, there's a battle happening every single time you step into a store. On one side, your brain. On the other, billion-dollar retail science. And until this moment, you didn't even know you were playing. Let's start the trip. It's a Tuesday evening. You walk into a store for one thing: paper towels, maybe milk. In and out, 5 minutes tops. Except the moment you step through those doors, something already happened without your permission. Look around. No windows, no clock on the wall. That's not an accident. That's a technique borrowed straight from casinos, where removing any sense of time keeps people inside longer, spending longer, without ever noticing the hours slip by. The same trick quietly moved into the store where you buy your groceries. Now you start walking, toward the milk, obviously, since that's the whole reason you're here. Except, milk is never near the entrance. It's tucked in the farthest corner of the store, as far from the door as physically possible. Here's something almost nobody notices. If supermarkets genuinely wanted to save you time, milk would be the very first thing you saw. Instead, it's usually the very last. That isn't bad design. That's brilliant design, just not for you, for them. Because getting to the one item you actually need means walking past everything else they want you to see first. Think of it like playing chess against an opponent who already knows your next 5 moves before you make them. That's what walking through a modern store actually is. Every turn, every shelf height, every aisle width was mapped out in advance, based on exactly how people like you move, hesitate, and decide. And this isn't guesswork. Major retailers spend serious money studying how customers move through their stores, sometimes using cameras and sensors, just to track how long your eyes linger on a single shelf. Even the music overhead isn't random. Researchers have found that slower background music causes shoppers to walk slower, stay longer, and ultimately spend more, all without anyone consciously noticing the tempo of the song playing above their head. So there you are, walking slower than you think, past aisle after aisle, and suddenly you see a bright red sign. Sale. 50% off. Your brain reacts before your logic gets a vote. Red triggers urgency. It always has. That reaction fires whether or not the price actually changed, which is exactly why you'll sometimes see sale-style signage on items that were never discounted in the first place. Next to it, a price tag. $9.99. Your brain doesn't read that as basically $10. It reads 9. Just 9. This is called left digit bias, one of the oldest tricks in the entire industry, because your brain latches onto the very first number it sees and barely processes the rest. Then someone stops you. A friendly employee holding out a tiny sample on a toothpick. That smiling stranger isn't just being nice. In reality, they've become the delivery system for one of the oldest psychological weapons ever studied. It's called reciprocity, and it works like this. The moment you receive something, even something as small as a cube of cheese, part of your brain quietly decides that saying no to buying it now feels almost rude. You never asked for the sample. You'll feel the debt anyway. By now, you've made dozens of small decisions without realizing it. Paper or plastic. Name, brand, or generic. This size or the next size up. And this is where the trick gets bigger, because every one of those tiny decisions is quietly draining something. Picture your brain like a phone battery. It starts the day at 100%. Every decision you make, no matter how small, drops that battery a little further. by the time you reach the checkout line after dozens of choices made throughout your entire day. Not just in this store, your battery isn't sitting at 100% anymore. It's running closer to 5. And that's exactly the moment they've been waiting for. Because right there, at checkout, at the single lowest point of your mental energy for the entire day, is where you'll find candy, chocolate, and magazines, placed at exact eye level in the exact spot where your resistance is weakest. This is called decision fatigue, and once you understand it, you'll never look at a checkout aisle the same way again. It isn't random placement, it's the final ambush, saved specifically for the moment you're least equipped to fight back. But here's where it gets even bigger. Walk over to the clothing section for a second. You'll notice something curious. A jacket priced at $500, hanging right next to one priced at $100. That expensive jacket might not even need to sell. Its entire job is to sit there and make the $100 jacket feel like a bargain in comparison. Even though, on its own, without that $500 anchor beside it, $100 might have felt expensive too. This is called anchoring, and it works because your brain rarely judges price on its own. It judges price in comparison to whatever number is standing right next to it. You'll see the same trick with a crossed out price next to a new one. $50 crossed out, $19 in bold. That crossed out number might never have sold a single unit in its life. Its entire purpose is to make 19 feel small. Now here's something that connects everything you've just walked through into one much bigger idea. Every single one of these tricks works because it hijacks a completely normal, healthy human instinct and quietly turns it against you. Reciprocity exists because humans are wired to help each other. Urgency exists because our ancestors needed to react fast to real threats. Comparison exists because our brains evolved to judge value relatively, not absolutely. None of these instincts are flaws. They're features. Features that retail science has learned to aim, with remarkable precision, directly at your wallet. And it isn't only tricks that squeeze you. Some stores play the opposite game entirely. Costco has kept the price of its hot dog and soda combo at $1.50 for decades, even as almost everything else got more expensive around it. That's not generosity. It's trust engineering. When you see one product priced so fairly it seems almost impossible, your brain quietly assumes the entire store must be fair, which makes you far less likely to question anything else sitting in your cart. Even furniture stores play this game. Researchers have documented something now known as the IKEA effect, where people who assemble a piece of furniture themselves end up valuing it significantly more than an identical piece they didn't build. The effort itself creates emotional ownership, which is exactly why you'll defend that wobbly bookshelf you spent 3 hours building, long after a stranger would call it overpriced. So here you are, standing at checkout, cart full, mental battery somewhere around 5%, having just walked through a maze built by people who understood your brain better than you understood it yourself. This is usually the part where someone tells you to simply have more willpower. That advice is almost useless because you cannot out-willpower a system built by professional psychologists, funded by billion-dollar companies, refined over 50 years of research. Willpower loses that fight almost every time. What actually works is awareness, because awareness is the one thing none of these tricks can manipulate. Before you walk in anywhere, eat first, since a hungry brain chases immediate reward instead of long-term value. Bring a list and give yourself a time limit, because time blindness only works if you let it. Treat every countdown timer and limited stock warning with suspicion instead of urgency. When you see a crossed-out price, ask what the item is actually worth to you, not what it's being compared to. And for anything expensive, give yourself 24 hours before buying, because decision fatigue fades with time, and what feels essential under fluorescent lighting often feels completely unnecessary the next morning. None of this requires extreme discipline. It just requires noticing the walls of the maze before you take the next turn. So the next time you walk into a store, don't look at the products first. Look at the layout. Notice where the clock isn't. Notice the music. Notice the smell drifting from the bakery. Notice exactly where the milk sits and exactly where the candy sits. For the first time, you won't just be shopping, you'll be watching the store try to shop you, and once you see it, you can never quite unsee it again.